worked up at the Oakdale Mall. Now, the Oakdale Mall at night.
Doing what?
Oh, God. Well, a variety of different jobs.
You were like the
no,
ballet?
I worked at Wilson's Leather, and I worked at the Gap.
Okay.
And
You weren't looking for Libyans or anything.
No, I wasn't. So anyway, this mall around the perimeter is fantastic because it has elevation changes. It goes up, comes down. It's got a corkscrew. See where I'm going here?
Yeah, this is an autocross course.
It's the best autocross ever at about quarter of 3 in the morning.
With elevation changes.
All over the place.
Oh, boy.
Drops and S's. So I don the helmet, put on the gloves, about quarter to 3 in the morning.
Hey, welcome to Car Guy Confessions, brought to you by ARP. I'm Jeff Smith. This is my car buddy Cam Benty and car builder Steve Strope, and we're going to tell you some stories. So one of the things I like to do is always assemble an engine with ARP bolts, and it's not just because they're sponsors, but because it really does work. And the stuff is fantastic. I never have to worry about it. Steve, you building cars too?
Yeah, actually, it's part of my baseline design plan when I'm building a car that's going to be shown or featured in a magazine. It's part of the plan to have that little bit of diamonds all over the engine bay or in the suspension.
Yeah, the stuff is beautiful. I remember a long time ago I built the first time I ever touched it, 69 Z28. All of the water jacket holes had stripped out, and I learned about ARP studs.
So check them out at arp-bolts.com or check out their catalog. You'll find everything you're looking for. Okay, welcome to another episode of Car Guy Confessions with Jeff Smith, my good friend Cam Benty, and my other good friend, Steve Strope, car builder extraordinaire.
Hey.
And this is all about telling you stories. So should we just kick right into it?
Sure.
Tell me a story, Jeff.
Absolutely.
So,
We got
you want to
lots
start? Go ahead and
Well,
start.
sure. Not a problem. We were talking about situations where we have driven very fast, maybe the fastest we've ever gone with the wheel in our hand. So, and the question also came to, was it safe? I mean, that's
And of
always
course,
a
your
question.
answer was no.
Exactly. It's never safe. It's never safe. Safe. Ralph Nader said it, right? So,
Right,
but
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
that is the last
Unsafe.
time I promised to ever use his name.
His
So
name.
I'm done, officially done. But situation is that I was on an event that you were on, which was the original introduction of the ZR-1 Corvettes in Europe.
France.
Yes. Well, we started. Yeah, we were in France the whole time, weren't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah,
were
the
at,
one time I've ever been overseas.
And how was it for you?
It was great.
Okay.
Yeah. The cheese was stinky.
We stayed in a castle.
Thank you for all that.
That's right. We stayed in a castle. Remember we stayed in a castle?
It was called
Carcassonne.
Carcassonne.
That's right.
Yeah, it was like 14th century castle.
It was
Chevrolet-
incredible.
We should back up a little bit.
Yes.
So Chevrolet invited us to the introduction of the ZR-1.
Right.
And it was like, okay, we're gonna go to Mid Ohio or something. I said, no, we're
Yeah.
gonna go to France. It's like, really? I had to go get a passport
Yeah.
and fly over to France.
But wait.
Yeah.
When was this? So I can
90.
place where I
90,
was.
1990. So you were still.
I
in
was
high
still
school?
back. You're most gracious. Thank you.
Did you have a passport?
No,
Young
I
guys.
am. 1990 was, 5 years before I moved to California. So I was still in
Okay.
New York, and I was traveling and playing in my band and working on my El Camino, building my El
Nice.
Camino.
Nice.
So, all right, now
So
I
we-
know where I
Okay.
was.
Flew over the top of you.
Yes, we did.
On your
Yes,
way
we
to
did.
going having fun.
right.
I was
We
probably
were. We were.
And
throwing
they
a hay
gave us
bale or something.
These really nice jackets that I
Yes,
still
they did.
have.
Yes,
Yeah.
they did. Nice
Yeah.
jackets and the chance to drive in France.
In France.
Which was very, very entertaining, to say the least.
And part of it was, I remember,
Yeah.
here's the part, because the high-speed part, I don't remember.
Well, I did that on my own.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I don't remember.
What car was this? A Vet?
Terrorizing.
This is a ZR-1
Brand new
Corvette.
Oh, the ZR-1 with the
they
Lotus motor.
flew
The
a whole
32
bunch
valve.
of
Yes,
Lotus
Corvettes
motor.
exactly.
over to France, yeah.
Right.
Oh, I know exactly what I was doing. Because I was working during the day, because I'm traveling and playing in the band and work on the weekends playing.
Being a rock star.
Yeah. During the day, I was working at a place called Galt Chevrolet, and I was parking those things new.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
And I was going to make millions. What I would do is they had pre-cut cardboard, not cardboard, but kind of cardboard floor protectors.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I was saving those, and I wrote the VIN number of each one.
Oh, and you were going to sell it back to the owner?
Yeah. I go, would you like the pre-delivery stuff? Because
There you
this
go.
came off of your car, not another
Yes.
one.
And
Right.
The real Corvette.
It was a
freaks
good
probably
hustle.
would.
No,
Yeah,
it
was.
worked.
Did
I
it
was
work?
I was
Did
hustling
you
like
make money?
$25 on that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was.
But you know what's funny is they're still available. And there are a lot of those that have very few miles on them because people thought there would be collector's items,
Right.
and they're not worth more than $30,000.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
they originally
because
went
they
for
didn't
like
make a lot of power. They
They had a
work
cool
on
key
power.
that shut half the cylinders.
yes,
Yeah,
correct.
because I
It
remember
was a
we were
Lotus
doing-
designed motor.
We were doing
Yes,
a
it was.
deal one time with those and with the car and driver guys, and there was a performance segment we were supposed to drive on, and the car and driver guy that was in front of me stole the key.
Of course he did.
I think he was afraid of me.
Oh.
So anyway,
Yes.
part of the fun thing was they took us to remember that little village
Yes.
that was like 10th century village.
Oh, it was crazy.
So we're
Yeah.
parking these brand new Corvettes in like a 10th century village. The door literally was this high. That was the door to one of the buildings.
So
Oh,
it was
yeah.
for hobbits.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it looked like a Hobbit deal.
Yes.
It was,
Oh,
yeah,
It was
really,
crazy.
it's like,
Did you
wow.
ever get pulled
French
over?
hobbits.
Never got pulled over.
I got pulled over twice by gendarmes.
So what does
doing
that
over
say?
No, what it says is they wanted to look at the car because it was
Oh.
funny because then somebody would show up and they'd speak French to them and they'd say, just go. It's like,
American.
that's right. You could leave. You just leave now. That's right.
Please be gone.
That's right. But it was very.
Please be
We kept
gone.
getting pulled over, which was kind of a pain in the ass. And we went to that very cool site where we did the tire testing, the Goodyear tire test
Yeah. Yeah,
at Marivel,
at that test track.
where they actually had a deal where it would be a wet track where it would let the water out of one side and it would collect it on the other side, so the track could be completely
Very-
soaked, but it would recycle it.
Right.
So
right.
it was very, very cool. I mean,
Yeah,
it was really
yeah.
sophisticated. We got to drive them in the rain, basically that way, but
Mhm.
it was a great deal. But
It was a lot of fun. It was
absolutely.
a lot of fun.
So to get to my story. So
Oh, yeah,
I'm
that.
I'm riding with the PR girl. Her name was. You remember Carrie Plyer? She married
Yeah.
one of the guys over at Saint Antoine.
Okay.
Remember? Yes.
Okay.
And so she was not married at the time, and her name was Carrie Plyer, which I thought was a very mechanical name.
Yeah.
So anyway, but she was
Like a race car
she
driver.
was unfortunately in the car with me at the time, and it was on the auto route going back to, I can't remember what town we were going to catch the plane.
So the auto route. explain
Auto
what
route,
that
yes,
is.
the
'Cause
auto
I
route
had
is the
not heard of that.
autobahn of France. My question in my mind right now is whether it is without speed limits, but that day it was.
Unbeknownst to
I
you.
didn't have a clue. I did that in Germany also. I went to Germany in '85 and drove a Porsche there. Went 165 miles per hour, 265 kilometers per hour, which was great. But I thought there were no speed limits in all of Germany. So how I ended up living through that, I have no idea,
And not
because I
being
went
incarcerated.
right through the town. So anyway, I have no idea what these signs mean. But anyway, I hit 170 indicated on the
in the ZR-1.
in the ZR-1, which was plenty fast, but not terrible. It was a pretty straight road where I was going, but it got with the program.
And the car was stable.
Car was extremely stable, and it went 170 indicated, like
And
I
that
say.
was in 1990.
That was in 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
also watched a guy pop tires on a narrow road. Remember that guy who had the big tires, and he would go through some of those little narrow towns where the roads were very
Oh,
very.
yeah. That was,
and
that
the guy
was
would,
the thing that got
and he
me
kept
was-
putting it off the edge of the deal. I even got on the mic. I said, "Hey guys, you're off the road," and not a mile later, the guy popped two
nailed
tires.
tires.
So
Yeah.
you got to do the special space saver tire where there was a 315. Now there's a 120. There's a 120 on the back. So there you go. So, but anyway, that's my and was it safe? Yeah, as safe as it gets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure Carrie doesn't feel the same way.
Terrorized.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Okay, well, that's a wrap, folks. That's a bottle that I swear I swore I wouldn't kick over, and I did. I want to go home.
I thought it was a hip joint.
Check, please. So, I used to have a little Carmen Ghia that was set up for like SCCA solo events.
okay.
So you got your little Carmen Ghia, and it's dropped, and it's on shaved Yokohama tires with Enki wheels, and it's the big bore motor out of a bus with dual port heads and Diolordo carbs and a fast ratio. It's like a quick first to second ratio in the transmission, 4-point simple, but 4-point cage in it. It was a very quick little car. Using our correct terms, it was not a super fast car, but it was a very quick little car. Think of chipmunk or squirrel, and we could use squirrel here in many different ways. But so I worked up at the Oakdale Mall. Now, the Oakdale Mall at night.
Doing what?
Oh, God. Well, a variety of
parking car.
jobs.
You were like
no,
valet?
I worked at Wilson's Leather, and I worked at the Gap.
Okay.
And
You weren't looking for Libyans or anything.
No, I wasn't. So anyway, this mall around the perimeter is fantastic because it has elevation changes. It goes up, comes down. It's got a corkscrew. See where I'm going here?
Yeah, this is an autocross course.
It's the best autocross ever at about quarter of 3 in the morning.
With elevation changes.
All over the place.
Oh, boy.
Drops and S's. So I don the helmet, put on the gloves, about quarter to 3 in the morning.
And go practice.
Yeah. Now, the mall, it was great because more than half of it was just big empty street. And where I'm from, the area outside Binghamton, at 3 in the morning, there's nothing happening by the mall. But the back side of the mall has houses. So I know I probably got about 2 or 3 laps.
And then you better.
And then I'm going to have
go.
to. Then I'm going to have to go.
Yeah.
So you got to make it count. See what I'm saying here? You make it count.
So was there counter steering involved?
Right.
Oh, there was lots of. So
Was there any snow?
getting there on the highway, I'm again, there's in my area, there's nothing going on the highway on 17C at 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning.
Right. So I'm on the highway before I get to the off ramp for it. I'm going 30 or 40 or 50 and just warming the tires up.
Right.
I'm just S-ing down the highway like this.
Warming the tires
Getting
up,
it
get the brakes
good and
ready.
warm,
Yeah,
getting
get
it
the
good
gear
and
oil all
warm.
ready to go.
That's right. Get off the exit. Get into pit
Racer-
lane.
racer mode.
Up to the starting grid that I had preset in my head where starting grid's going to be. For those of you that live in Binghamton, it's up where Bradley's was. That's really dating them all because Bradley's is gone a long time ago. So anyway, line up, drop it, hit it, and it's downhill first. Downhill into a small S and a hard left, then a right, and so it's you're on it at first, and everything's either flat or off camber. So,
good.
So I would do that. I had a couple of run-ins with the authorities.
Mall cops?
Yeah, the first, that they don't even count. They couldn't even catch my ass. They just sat and watched and called the real cops.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the real cops would come, and nobody, I was amazed. I was waiting for somebody to at least chase me around the building, but they were smarter than that and just waited for me to come around the other side.
Because you were going to come around to the same spot, so they could
Yes.
just ambush you.
Yeah, and they did. They were just sitting there, 2 of them in like a V form with the lights on.
Really?
So I just,
Wow.
downshift
Right,
down and
right.
just stop. And I shut off the motor, coasted into them, and there's no way I'm going to have time to take off the gloves and the helmet.
Right.
So I just roll up to them.
Oh, this is great.
The brakes are a little warm. They're like, get out of the car, please. And
Like this?
I I put my hands like this on the wheel.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And they're like,
No
you want to get
firearm.
out of the car, please? And I'm like, my helmet's hitting the, and I'm looking. This is when I could see. I'm looking, and I see the one cop go, and the other one go. Because they see I got gloves on, I got my racing sneakers on, perfect. And I got the helmet on. The one guy goes, I'd ask you what you're doing, but I'm pretty sure I know what you're doing. And do you know that this isn't legal? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And he goes, I don't want to see you here again. I don't even want to talk about this. I don't want to see you again. And I'm like, okay. I so badly wanted to go. So same time next week, but
Just to liven up your evening?
I so wanted to go. So how about next Tuesday? That's right. I like to come here on Tuesdays. So I did that for quite a while and never went to jail.
You did it more than once?
Oh,
Yeah, you went
yes.
back.
Did the cops show up again?
No, I would
fewer
limit
laps.
it to 2 hot
Fewer
laps
laps,
and
okay.
get right back on the
See,
highway.
that's smart.
There you go.
See,
So
that's
by the time I was done going, yeah, just on the highway and gone before they ever get there.
Right.
And I would
there's
alter the days. I wouldn't show up every Tuesday.
Right.
No.
Well, you don't want to be predictable.
Alternate Ash Wednesdays.
But I still have fond memories of watching both of their faces when I got out of the car with the gloves and my helmet on. The one guy just squinting like, what? And the other one's going, oh, brother. So,
That's perfect.
Yeah,
great
that's good.
track. I highly recommend.
That's right.
And now with all the malls closing, kids, you know what to do. Huh?
That's right.
Yeah,
Pool
It's
your
a-
money. Pool
it's
your
a
money and
racetrack.
buy them
I am
all.
not endorsing any of this.
That's right. It's a racetrack. You do a remake of Blues Brothers.
Sure. Yeah, there
Small's
you
got
go.
a lot of room in it.
Or
That's right.
the Rendezvous.
Yes,
Remember
the
that-
Rendezvous
that
was
video?
good.
That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
The Oldsmobiles are in early this year.
That's right.
You've seen the Rendezvous, right?
No, I do not know.
You have not seen that?
What is it?
Do you know what the car was?
It was a Ferrari, wasn't
Ferrari 512 Boxer.
it? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
in France.
the theory
A
is,
lovely car.
A lovely car.
So the whole thing was set up where they put a film camera on the front bumper of the car.
Right.
And it's called the Rendezvous because he drives from his spot at his house
Right.
across Paris at
Yes.
like 5 in the morning. It's
Right.
just barely dawn. And he almost runs over a lady pushing a baby car. And this is not this
Which is particularly that's something to learn from.
yes,
That's-
yes, and because this is not staged. I mean, this was just
Oh, no,
because
there
apparently he
was
did it.
there was some of this that was staged.
Was it?
Yes,
Okay, there
I
were
understand.
segments?
It was part of a movie.
Okay.
Did you see at the end where he?
And then he gets to his
Embraces her,
girlfriend and
and
gives her a kiss, and that's
Yeah.
the whole idea.
Right.
Is to get to the
Right. He
is
goes
to
up on the curb.
rendezvous.
Was it
To
shot
the rendezvous.
like Le Mans, like almost no talking?
There
Just
was
action?
no talking at all.
there was no dialogue whatsoever. It
Just
was
the
very
sound
cool.
of the 512.
It's probably on the internet somewhere.
it's all-
yeah,
it's- yeah, it's
yeah.
very
So it's
easy.
kind of cool. It's
And
the
it's-
It's
it's
rendezvous.
such a
like,
guy
you know,
movie.
Yeah.
It's like a it's like a 380 resolution.
Notice-
it's like really,
notice
really
the-
Oh,
grainy.
well, yeah,
super
because it
grainy.
was shot in film. It
Yes.
was done like in the 60s.
It was
early 70s,
well,
something like that.
probably 70s with a
70?
512.
Okay.
But it was, there was. What's great is that he's going. You can hear him go into fifth gear. I mean, it's just like he's flying. He's flying,
and
going
the
around
clutch, the downshifts
right.
and all that good stuff. It's great.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
going.
yeah,
He goes
yeah.
around the Arc de Triomphe and does all that stuff, and comes up on the curb, and then goes down, and
Somebody should reenact
great.
that.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I'm not sure it could be done.
Yeah.
So my story is a little bit different in that only that it was at a legal place, right? So it was remember the
Boring.
Silver State.
Boring.
Boring, yes.
Very good. Yeah.
So the Silver State, which is the
Yes.
open road race. Okay, there was a kind of a sister event called the Pony Express.
Pony Express.
Right.
And I went to the Pony. I entered my '65 Chevelle in the Pony Express.
What color was it at that time?
It was still blue. It's still
Yep.
blue now. So a Lingenfelder 420 4-speed 273 gear, and I'm in the 150 class, that's your average speed. So you're shooting for an average speed of 150 miles
so
an
you're
hour.
moving.
Oh yeah. Well, about 60. It's a 90-mile course, and 60 miles of it is flat and straight across this valley. And as you crest the hill and then go down, you can see across the entire valley. I mean, it's cool as hell. And I'd gone the year before with the Chevelle, and at 140, the car tries to fly. The front end just picks up, and the faster you go, the more to the point where you can turn the wheel and nothing happens.
It's late.
So I lowered my speed to 140 and tried to keep the car around 138 or so because at least you could steer it. So then the next year
That's a
we showed
plus.
up. Yeah, it's always a
It's in the
plus.
assembly manual. It says
So-
140,
so
not too much. 138, perfect.
Yeah,
That's right.
took the power steering out, put a manual 65 Chevelle gearbox back in it to slow the speed down, so
Yeah.
at least I can make corrections and not
Go
lose it.
over into that cactus.
Exactly.
Right.
And then my buddy Tim Moore helped me build an air dam for the
Right.
front of the car, and it was ugly as hell. It was the most hideous thing, but it was
But
functional.
functional, yeah, right.
It kept the air from going underneath the car.
Right.
So now, and then that year they gave us a test day, so we could go out and go like 2 miles, at as fast as you could go in 2 miles, and now the car would go over 160 before it started to pick the front end up. But it was like, okay, we're there, right?
Right.
So get all staged up and stuff in it, and it's like this is when you've been building up to this for probably 4 months. Been working on the car almost every night in my 2-car garage and getting this thing all set up. I got oil coolers, I got all this stuff. So I have an oil temperature gauge up here in the upper right hand corner. It only goes to 275 because I thought, well, that should be okay because I have a cooler, right? So I'm sitting staging, warming the motor up. There's about 2 cars in front of me, and I realize you're really going to do this. this is really stupid. Because I have a 4-point roll bar,
Perfect.
which is not really. It's the main hoop is welded to the frame. The back hoop is not. It's just plated to the kick up in the rear over the rear end.
Nice.
So
well,
it's not going to do very much.
Well,
the
you
blue
can come race with me around the mall.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well,
The
it'd be fine for
blue
that,
paint will
but
protect
160 mile an hour, not so smart. But they let me go. They let me race. So I have my tires. Everything's all good, and I'm all strapped in. I'm thinking, this is really stupid. I shouldn't be doing this, but it's too late now. I can't just turn around and leave. It's like tuck your tail between your legs. You can't do that. So it's like, okay, I just got to go. And then the best part about this, if you talk to people, it's like that's always the way it is when you're waiting. It's like the end. And then once the clutch comes out and you start going, you forget all of that and you're concentrating on driving the car. So bam, 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 fourth gear and just whoa. So clear the top of the hill, come down. And as I'm coming down the thing, I have a chance to actually start scanning my gauges. And I look up and the oil temperature gauge is already pegged. Past 275. So Lord knows what it was, 315, 320, 325. It's like, oh, man, this is really hot.
This is moving, yes.
Synthetic oil, so it was fine. The motor was fine.
Yeah.
I was most concerned with was the year before we had run the car, and the pickup, the oil pump pickup, it was a standard high volume pump, but it just had the standard little pickup that comes down, and it sat there and was like a tuning fork.
Yeah.
So about 2/3 of the way through the race, I do my gauge scan, right? About every minute or so, 30 seconds, you do a gauge scan. I'm looking at my pressure, and I got 60 pounds of oil pressure at I'm going 150 miles an hour. I do the scan again, and it's at 40. I was like, yeah. I'm like, I expected to just go whoop like this, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm not even watching the road anymore. I'm looking at my oil pressure gauge going, any second it's going to do this, I'm going to have to click it, right? And it just stays there, but it's fluctuating like this, where before it was fairly steady. Now it's going between like probably 30 and 50.
Sucking air?
Yes. So what had happened was, after we learned later, was the round stock pickup, we had welded the tube into the pump like everybody tells you to do, but we didn't think about the unsupported pickup. Yeah. So what happened was it was laying at the bottom of the pan. And it was sucking air because the tube was at about the level of where the oil level was. So it would take this air, it was constantly sucking air all the time. So that was the year before. So we took it all back apart, looked at everything. Everything was fine because I called Lingenfelder immediately and said, I went 150 miles an hour for like 40 minutes at 40 pounds of oil pressure. He goes, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Took it apart, and the engine was fine. Yeah. So we did a double-supported pickup. We did all this other stuff. But then I made another mistake, which I didn't realize until the end of the race, which was this is all leading up to how fast we went. But so we put an aftermarket oil pan on it. I won't say whose it was because it was my fault, really. But they used a fiber, that little plastic washer for the drain plug. Yeah. Well, at 300 degrees oil temperature, it melts. It probably melts at about 200 degrees. Right. Yep. The previous year, I had run a copper washer, but this year I didn't. So because I wasn't thinking. So as we clear the finish line, right, I'm pulling it. Well, the first thing I did was put the clutch in, and the clutch pedal wouldn't work because the push rod had fallen out. It vibrated.
Got tired of being carried and not used. It's like,
so there was
you're
no
not
clutch.
Going to use me. Okay.
So I kick it into neutral and shut the motor off and pull into the parking lot and stop. And somebody says, "You're leaking badly."
The track.
I look under the car, and the drain plug was 3/4 of the way out. And so there was this. What would that be? A stalactite or a stalagmite?
Yes. Stalactite from
from the top down.
Yes.
There was this. It was a string of congealed plastic, and the drain plug was in by like 2 threads.
Wow!
I was like, so I just grabbed it and started turning it in. What's leaking like crazy, right?
Which
so
pretty soon,
oh no! So I had 300-degree oil on my fingers. It's burning the snot out of me, but it's like I got to stop the leak.
Nice.
So this is all leading up to the fact that we went 168 miles an hour
That's
in
impressive.
a 65 Chevelle.
That's
and
impressive.
what it would do,
is that
it
the
was
world record?
still
Yeah.
No. I think somebody's gone 180 or so in a 65, which is really stupid.
That's pretty fast.
But what it would do is you'd be driving along and you'd hit a bump and it would compress, and then when the nose picked up, wherever the front end was pointed, that's where it went. And so you would just do this, and then you'd counter steer.
Sure, and then it would
and
go
then 1001, 2002, and then it would start to bounce back over. So I was constantly doing this, chasing this thing. So after a while, I finally just said, well, I'm not here to set some kind of record. I just want to see how fast my car would go.
Sure.
And what they do is throughout the race, they set up 3 different places where they'll radar gun you,
Nice.
or they'll run the little, remember the old ding ding
Sure.
for the gas station thing? They would
Sure.
just set 2 of them at like 100 feet apart and then just measure your average speed. The reason they did that was because there were lots of guys in Corvettes that didn't have any roll bars that only could legally go 100 and whatever their class was, 120 miles an hour, something like that.
They would knock them down.
And
right?
well, they would throw them out.
Yeah.
So they would say
Right.
you can't ever come back again.
That's right.
So they wanted to make sure that you weren't going to exceed your target speed or your class. Well, your target speed, which is your legal speed. So I was in the 150 class, but they actually told me I could go 170. So legally, and I went 168. So
Which you
a
were.
lot of fun. That
were
was a
legal.
lot of fun. So,
Right.
but then a lot of friends got together and said, "This is really not a very smart idea. You shouldn't do this again." So we kind of retired the car.
Were you there when Big Red was running?
That we were at that was at the Silver State.
Yes.
That was the first year of the Silver State, and Joe Pettit was in the car.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was
Big Red is a '69 Camaro.
Camaro.
The Camaro.
In body
The
and
It's the
in body
Camaro.
only. Yeah, it is the Camaro, and it has it's
We,
set.
we should probably tell that story at some point.
We will, and we won't do it
Yeah.
now. But the bottom
Yeah.
line was Big Red. We're holding that for a future episode. But Big Red is
Because
an
there's
amazing
a fun story.
of the fastest '69 Camaro.
Yeah, and a fun
ever.
story how Joe
ever
Pettit
made.
was working for me at Hot Rod and went and was the co-driver in the car. Or,
Bad place to be, which is another deal we're going to talk about, which is never be the co-pilot. Kerry Plyer, Joe Pettit.
And a couple people wanted to be my navigator, and it was like, no, because I don't want to be responsible for him.
Yeah.
If we crash, I'll just kill myself.
When
But
I had
I didn't want to be responsible for somebody else.
when I had my accident out at Willow with Carol Shelby and all of the world watching me do that deal, I had Pete Pasteur.
Pete Pasteur. So
Pete
the
Pasteur.
two of you were
We were upside down.
hanging upside down on the straps.
We were doing the bat thing. So and
The bad thing.
The bad thing.
when he earned his moniker, Endo Benty.
That's me. That's right. The one car I've ever busted gave me a whole moniker of destruction. It's like
Which leads us to
Yeah.
a good story. Speaking of people who crash,
Yeah.
All right, we'd like to thank our advertiser, Alden American. They've been around for 40 years doing coilover shock conversions for muscle cars, and they do a pretty good job, Steve.
Do an awesome job. And interesting enough, first time I came to California, I met Frank Aldana, who's the guy who created the Alden shock and a kind of a staple in the drag racing community. So I know they've been doing amazing stuff for a very long time.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. They make shock absorbers, coilovers, and suspension kits for thousands of applications. You pick out your specific year and model, and they probably have a system for it. They design and test them in the USA. It's all American-made, racing, street performance, and vehicle-specific applications across the board. And also they hang their hat on the fact that they're bolt and go. There aren't a lot of modifications that have to happen. You buy them, you put them on, you go down the road.
So check them out at Alden American and see what they've got.
The website,
Yeah,
aldenamerican.com.
aldenamerican.com.
That too.
And you can use promo code CARGUY10 to get 10% off your order at aldenamerican.com.
And with ARP, it's not just a lot of intake manifolds, studs for heads, but they also have a humongous selection of American and metric that we use all throughout the car, even large bolts that we use on the suspension components, because you want that same strength, that same durability and reliability, plus the beautiful looks.
and stuff outside the catalog.
Right, they have a special order program where if you're a builder and you need some special stuff made, they can do that for you. So it's an amazing company to work with.
So check them out at arp-bolts.com or check out their catalog. You'll find everything you're looking for. Should we tell the story about our buddy
Oh no,
Rob
Mr. Canan.
Canan?
Poor Rob.
I don't know the full story.
Optima? Okay.
Are we allowed? Let's check in with the people that run the show. Are we allowed to gab about this more? Are we doing a good on time?
This
I
is
got
the
thumbs up
confession
all the way
part.
around.
This is the confession part.
Rob is cringing right now because he knows what's
Oh yeah.
coming, right?
Oh yeah. If he's watching this, he's already rolling his
he,
eyes, going,
He
"Oh,
builds this Factory 5
It's
street
like
rod.
a 33.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be
33
a 33 Ford.
33 Ford.
Looking.
Kick-ass, wasn't that a Roush motor, I think, in there?
They still make them.
351?
They still make
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. Oh,
Factory
and it's
5
a-
still builds
it's
those.
a-
buy at home.
bitchin'
You can buy your
car.
own and wreck it just like Rob did. I mean,
Oh, you ruined the story.
no. We all know what
I don't
where
know
this
what
is gonna
happened.
go.
we know.
No,
I
they
have no
already
idea
know.
what happened.
They know what Rob's
no
gonna
idea.
do.
Okay, so Optima event, right? We're at Pahrump, which is it's I forget the name of the track.
Pahrump.
Well, yeah, that's where the town. It's Green Mountain. Yes, thank you very
that
much.
just was
They do the
flowing.
I like
Corvette. The
Pahrump.
Corvette class is there, and so this is after SEMA. This was
Yes.
several years ago, 10 years ago, maybe
least.
something
A while
like that,
ago.
somewhere
At
in there.
least.
And he's got this factory 5 car, and it's like, well, he's got like power to weight like crazy, tires this wide.
It's a tube chassis vehicle with a fake 33 Ford fiberglass
Right, it's a
body on
yes,
top
yeah,
of
it's,
it.
it's the factory
It's not
5
a full
chassis.
fender 33
No, so
Ford.
it probably
it's just
weighed.
a body shell.
So you think what it weighed like 2,300 pounds, something like that?
Maybe.
Yeah,
25
maybe.
with Rob?
Yeah, maybe.
Depends on whether he had a Mexican breakfast.
Right.
Okay.
So he goes out and he qualified. Well, there was some practice, but then there's essentially no qualifying. So the Optima event back then, it's changed a little bit since then, but it was the road course, and then there was a break stop deal, and then an autocross, and then there was a judging for your how the car looked,
Show and shine.
the show and shine kind of thing, and there was significant points for that. And so he's there. I'm there with my Chevelle. And I did not do very well at all. We won't
won
talk
the show and
we won't
shine,
talk
though, right?
about that. they walked my car and laughed and just kept walking. So, but first portion for the road course, he's the first car out. So what you do is you go out and make a lap around the course. It's like a 1.8 mile, 2.2 mile course, something like that. So gets ready, comes around the last turn on the front straightaway and is blasted down the front straightaway. And then there's your time lap. So he goes by the start-finish line, and I'm standing there because my car's in the pit, so I'm standing there watching. And he blasts by and go, that's where I would have broke, where I would have hit the brakes. And it was like he went right by it, and it was like, and right off the course.
And into the largest rock.
Into the largest rock on the entire race course facility. I think it was the left front corner, ripped the left front corner right off the car, right? First lap of the first event on race day. So that course, everything stops. They drag his car over, stick it over in the dirt. And he had driven it there, so he's got to now figure out some way to drag it home.
Did he win?
No. Short version of the long
That's
answer,
the
no.
best question of the day. But did he win, Bob?
He won best dumb move.
That's right.
You know, so anyway, while there's some downtime, I thought I need a photo of this. So I walk over and took a picture of his car, right? This is, of course, digital days. So I get back to the office. We're all still working at Source. So we're going back to the office on Monday morning. So I got my digital camera and printed out a photo and stuck it on the kind of the
Community
community bulletin board.
Yeah.
You know, caption contest. And then I did the first one, which was Rob Canan, the first graduate of the Ray Charles School of High Performance Driving. And then for the rest of the day, I could hear him walking around.
See.
Did you post that?
Did you say rock on?
Funny. He walked into my office and said, "That was you, wasn't it?" I went, "Yeah, it was." So, Rob, if you're watching, great job.
Perfect. There you go, Rob.
Poor Rob.
Poor Rob, yeah. Well, you know.
So did he do it again? Did he ever do it again? That was it?
I don't think so, but
There's
he
a-
did do that Mustang event. I forget what that road course deal.
Yeah.
Because Chris Kaufman, they got a car from Ford, and Chris Kaufman was his crew chief, and he did fairly well. I mean, I was shocked. You know, so Rob, you know,
They checked the area for rocks.
yeah, ahead of time.
This big rock
So
metal
He
detail.
he did
rocks.
far better than
That's right.
our golfer buddy. that,
Oh, yeah,
just
Tiger.
Tiger Woods. you know.
Tiger,
They
yes.
just now said that he was going almost double the speed when he lost control.
He
No
should,
skill.
He should leave his driving to the golf course. How
Bingo.
many times have
Thank
we
you very
heard
much.
that? By this time, it's got to be
Yep,
everybody.
yep.
That's right.
So-
It's a regular rock Monanoff.
You can't pay for this kind of entertainment.
which kind of
right
leads
here.
us into a bit more of a serious point here.
That's right.
So the segue was intentional, by the way. So there is, for those of you who have probably watched the TV show Street Outlaws, right? And at the beginning, it says, don't do this dumb stuff that we're about to show you we're doing. Well, that's basically a lie. And what's really going on there, and this is not intentional to beat up on Street Outlaws. Those guys have probably made more money than I'll ever see in my lifetime. So, but that is not street racing. They want to let you think that it's street racing, but it's not, because if you know how they put this thing on, because they actually did an episode out here in Los Angeles County.
It's
They
a TV
out-
show.
They went out to the desert,
Right.
and you've got a $1 million bond. You've got all kinds of insurance policies. You've got police there to
Shut
segment
down
the
the
whole place,
road.
to
Oh,
shut
yeah.
down the road. They've got emergency people there.
Right. The only thing
all
about
over the
street
place.
racing is you're not on a prepped track.
They're not on a
Right.
prep track.
You were actually having
So-
to drive your
so
race car down a street.
Please don't believe that that is illegal street racing, because it's not. But what we want to talk about is what is illegal street racing, and something called implied malice. You need to remember that term, because what we're about to tell you here is true. And
Isn't applied malice the way that Discovery feels about magazines?
probably.
That's what I
Thank
thought.
you.
Yeah.
I like that.
that
That's
is-
good.
That's good.
That's good.
So here's the scenario. We'll play the roles here. So
Okay.
I'm the bank robber.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a bank
And
robber.
I'm a bank robber.
You're
So
a
I go
bank
in,
robber.
and Cam is my getaway driver.
Is
Yes.
he?
Yes.
Oh, well,
And
there's your first mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah.
Oh my God.
So
And back.
It's all
in
doomed
the-
already.
in the
That's right.
implementation,
Which cell do you want?
right? Well, and that's where we're heading with this. That's where we're heading with this.
Okay.
So, and this is serious stuff. I mean, we're kind of
All
making
right.
light of
Right,
it, but
right.
it is serious stuff.
Right.
So, in the implementation of the robbery, someone is killed. I don't know. Somebody in the bank is killed, and we jump in the car and we take off and we get arrested.
Right.
You get charged with murder just
Right.
like I do.
Right.
And the and the deal is implied malice. And implied malice means that you understood that this was a dangerous situation,
Right.
and that you placed yourself there full knowing that something bad might happen. And as a result of that, you're going to be charged with murder just like I am.
You have to take responsibility
Right.
You have
because
to take
you're there
responsibility for
taking
your
part of
actions.
it.
Sure.
So now we're going to move this same situation into a street race. And I'm actually going to give you a situation that happened just down the street from my house about 5 or 6 or 7 years ago.
You weren't involved.
No,
Okay.
no, I was not involved.
Okay.
But there was a street race that happened in Chatsworth. And this, I'm not going to give you names because I'm probably just going to
No.
butcher their names. But this is part
It's
of
not good.
the record.
Yeah.
You can look it up and you can find out these people's names. So this young guy posted on Facebook, there's going to be a street race at the normal place in Chatsworth on this night. So come out. There's a ton of people there. He puts somebody else in his Mustang, now driving this guy's Mustang. The guy who posted this thing on Facebook is the flagman, and he's
So
racing
let me
another
get this
car.
right for myself and people following along. Let's say our main guy's name is Phil. Phil owns a Mustang. Phil posts the post.
Yes.
Hey, we're going to have a street race.
Yes.
But Phil is not driving his Mustang. He lets his buddy pal drive.
That's his
and
buddy
Phil
drives
is
the car.
flag man.
He's flagging off the race.
Okay.
So now all this is going down. So Phil's buddy, and there's, I guess there's actually video of this somewhere, where the Mustang loses control off the starting line, comes across and runs over two people that are spectating and kills them. They are now dead. All right. So the short version of a very long story is the Mustang driver is charged with vehicular manslaughter and is convicted. And he is currently serving 12 years under 2 counts of felony manslaughter. Okay, this guy's in jail for the next. This was probably 5 or 6 years ago. He's still in jail. The other guy driving the other car was also convicted. Now,
Even though he
let
hit
him,
no one.
he hit no one, but because he was
Part
actually
of the bank robbery.
he was part of the participation.
Right.
He was 2 counts of vehicular manslaughter. He served 1 year in prison, and he's under 5 years probation. Now, both of those guys, and then the third guy, Phil, our guy who flagged off the
Flag
race,
guy, owner
Facebook
of the
guy.
Mustang.
the owner of the Mustang, also a year in county jail and 3 years probation with 2 felony counts of vehicular manslaughter.
So all three of these guys, when eventually they get out of prison, are convicted felons. So that's the truth of what's going on. Now, right off the bat, we're not here to preach. Right?
No.
If you were to ask me, did you street race when you were a kid? Absolutely. But there wasn't implied malice back when I was doing that. But even if there had been, I was probably too dumb to know it. So the point here is just we're not going to tell you not to, because that's entirely your decision. But what you need to know is that implied malice will most likely be employed if something were to happen. Now, I have a good friend of mine who likes to street race. Now, he does it with his buddies. They're all together. It's just these guys, they go out somewhere in the desert somewhere and they race. And I've mentioned it to him before, and he doesn't think there's going to be a problem. But I was thinking about on the way up here that if he's racing with somebody else and that guy loses control and crashes his car, they probably have an agreement that no one is going to sue anybody else if this happens. But if that guy dies,
that guy's wife,
his family could say, look, my breadwinner's gone, and I need to be compensated for this. And they would go after
the whole group.
Everybody that was there. Everybody that was there.
They
so
confiscate the phones, prove that everybody got texts and knew they were all. It was an organized thing.
It was organized,
Oh, yeah.
completely organized. Everyone knew about it. So just be aware that this is what's going on. When this all first went down, I was up on, I won't even mention the website because it doesn't really matter. No. But there was somebody's chat board, and there were all these messages. Oh, they're not, somebody said they're going to be charged with murder. Oh, no, that'll never happen. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So after reading this for, down about, and everybody was taking the side of the people that caused the accident. And finally I just say, look, guys, I went up on the post and I said, here's what implied malice means. And there had probably been 30 or 40 or 50 posts. The moment I did my post, it all stopped because everybody went, ooh, because up until how I started my post was, this is all just your opinion. Here is now a fact. I'm not a lawyer, but I know about implied malice. And I learned it from a cop, a Northridge cop, Sean Reichert, police officer, who has a website that is involved with getting kids off the street and onto a track. And so there's really no excuse. I'm even as busy as Los Angeles is, there's still 2 drag strips within 2 hours of the San Fernando Valley where you can race.
But there used to be more.
There used to be more. That's true.
More. When the land got valuable, everything went to hell.
And LA County is now gone.
LA County is gone,
you have to
all
almost
those
go.
things.
You almost have to go to Bakersfield now.
But you look at Big Willie and the whole Terminal Island thing. That was
all
about. That was an attempt to create a place, an outlet for people to go drag racing, and that was really a big deal for Los Angeles. I mean, the whole thing. If you look at the history of Big Willie, what he was trying to do, what he did with the mayor, driving coffins around the downtown area just to let people know
illustrate
that the people are dying in drag racing and street racing back in the 60s. I mean, that was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And also I wanted to mention, the situation with the people, like the wives getting upset over people being killed by things. I mean, look at what happened with Mark Donahue,
Right.
He was killed in a racetrack setting, tire testing, and Goodyear got sued.
Yeah, his wife went after him.
And won.
Yeah.
So you've got a situation where there are things like that go on,
and you can't control that.
Right. And here was a deal where, do you think Mark Donahue would have liked that to have happened?
Absolutely not.
There's no way. He would have understood the responsibilities of what was going on. But as the breadwinner for the Donahue family, this is an unbelievably amazing man. Mark Donahue was just the best.
Yeah.
The best.
Yep.
I mean, deal to deal with. I talked to my buddy Bill Tower, and he tells me about all the stuff he used to do with Mark Donahue. Legendary guy, Indy winner, all this stuff. And, it trickles down.
Yeah.
And when there are ramifications of things that we do, it affects more than one person.
We don't want to make this too down, but
No.
at the same time, it's like this is important stuff. And I've thought about doing a story on it for a magazine, but frankly, none of the magazines really wanted to touch it because there was legal implications and everything else. Yeah, exactly. So the whole idea is just be aware of the risk that you're taking, because essentially what you have is monster risk, and this reward. It's just flat not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
And try the same thing. Maybe try to get together with local law and go, hey, can we organize? There's a group of us that
Sure.
want to get out and do something, but we don't want to do it illegally. Can you give us an opportunity? Can you block off an old road behind somewhere? Can we do something with the law enforcement involved?
Absolutely.
So
sure.
it
Well,
benef-
they
it
do that at
benefits
like
all the way around.
Woodward Cruise.
Uh-huh.
They
Yeah, they
set
do.
up a little drag race there. It's just
Yeah.
only like 500 feet or something
Mhm.
like that, whatever it is. But it's okay if you want to call it street racing, but it's under control. And there's guardrails and there's
Right.
they keep the crowds away and everything else, and it's as safe as you can make it. Plus, they probably have some sort of tech inspection, which is
Yeah.
a whole other story about.
Yeah,
Everybody
safety
wants
of
to
them.
fight tech inspection, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like they're there
Yes.
to protect you.
Right,
Really,
exactly.
they're trying to make it smart enough so that
Right.
or safe enough
You bet.
so that you don't hurt yourself, even
Right.
if you do crash.
Yeah, I always
because-
joked about it because I've been involved with a couple of race teams and helped sponsor a couple of
Mhm.
AA Fuel Nostalgia funny cars and a
Yeah.
couple of other things. And I had joked the first time we were dealing with tech, I joked about it. They're kind of like an HOA. Like, people are like, I don't want to pay those fees. I don't want them telling me what to do. I'm like, hey, you got to look at it the other way around. They're making sure your dumb neighbors don't put up lawn flamingos
Yeah.
in your neighborhood where your house
Right.
is 1.5 million.
Hey,
They're protecting you and your
Yes.
investment, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Should we talk about your funny car for
That's
a
right.
couple
no,
minutes?
no. I
No?
mean, it was with one of the. Hey, I was so fortunate. There was a gentleman named Steve Pluger, also known as the Burning German, the Pope of Chromoly. Pluger was, and you can look him up, but he was basically the crew chief and head cat for John Force
Okay.
while Force was creating his empire when he was brute force.
Okay.
And there were times I was told that at the Carcraft All-Stars
Mm-hmm.
that John was receiving a trophy, and he said, I'd like to call Steve Pluger up, gave Pluger the trophy because he said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
Wow. Yeah.
And when I was involved with Pluger, there were times that I had heard of phone calls from Force, and this was, 6-7 years ago, of him saying, hey, we've got a problem with their new car,
Mm-hmm.
and had Steve look at it.
Really.
When we would do exhibition runs with Bucky Austin, that was our teammate,
Mm-hmm.
I remember vividly being up in Vegas, and we were going to do, side-by-side run with Bucky, and like a third of the pro field was over there on the concrete barrier watching like a bunch of 8-year-olds. Most of them cut their teeth on those cars. You
Sure,
you
yeah.
actually have to, my driver, Garrett Bateman,
You
he
have
has to
to
manually
drive the
shift
car.
the thing. You got to hustle those cars in
Yeah.
a way shorter
Yeah.
wheelbase. But I remember a couple of times of Mr. Force coming down on a little scooter, no entourage, no group of people into our humble little pit, and he's like, Ploogie, you gonna run the hot rod? I'm not horrible imitation, but that was him. Ploogie, you gonna run?
Yeah.
And Steve Pluger was this chain smoking, and he's like, yeah, whatever, John, and you're just sitting there, so surreal, And John was like all excited to.
Yeah.
Come down and see
Yeah.
the car, and he's got $30 billion outfit over
Right.
here,
Right.
right?
And he's over.
and
at your
he's
car.
down here looking at this nonsense.
Well, he knows who can fix it.
Oh
you know?
yeah,
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
Your guy, yeah.
it was an amazing opportunity.
So what was your involvement with that?
Well, I like to stand behind the car and watch my money burn because I paid for the nitromethane.
Catch
So
any?
you literally watched your
I watched
money
my
go up in smoke.
literally.
Best thing I ever did. So I'll tell you
Flames
what.
out of the headers this far.
I'll tell you what. The coolest thing in the world. I'll get goosebumps talking about it. I went up. We would run at Bakersfield,
Mhm.
and Bakersfield's still Bakersfield from the day.
Yeah. Yeah. It hasn't changed very much.
And the menial job I got. There's a gentleman who he was actually. You remember Frank Aldana
Mhm.
being on the program, the car crafting
Yeah,
when we
yeah,
did that?
yeah.
I knew Frank from working at Daigle's Rod and Truck. I hadn't seen Frank in a couple of years. We said hi at the Grand National Roadster Show, and he was like, hey, I'm working on this funny car. You should come watch it up at the March meet.
Mm-hmm.
So I went up, fast forward. I started hanging out with those guys, got sucked into it. Da. So Frank would have me because
And they planted the hook, and you went.
yeah, it was pathetic. So I would clean the aluminum stuff for the sides of the bodies on the rails, when the body's off. And I also would, after Garrett would do his burnout and backup, I would be wiping the slick on the drivers.
You were the tire wiper.
I loved it. It was the greatest thing in the world. But I'm telling you right now, I'll go to my grave with happy thoughts of watching him do the burnout and backing up and scooch along and wiping the tire and run back, and it's nighttime and the car spitting the flames and just watching that thing go, just
Oh yeah.
And just plant the tire and
just
go, right?
just wrinkle the slick down in and the other car too, and flames off of both of them, and it's just like
Awesome.
And it visually, since they look right, it's exactly if I was sitting there in 1971.
Yep.
I mean, the stands look the same.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It's night sky. There's nothing to look
It could
different.
be a time warp.
I was there as much as I could have been without having a time machine, and it was the greatest drug, just the coolest thing.
I bet.
Just the coolest thing. So, and I'm very thankful that they let me be part of that.
Yeah.
So we did that, and we also I would go with Garrett, and he wound up driving for a guy named Les Leggett, who is president of the SCTA, has a lot of land speed records on dirt.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the god of that. He's an amazing engine builder.
Out of the dry lakes north of Los Angeles.
So he wanted to do nostalgia funny cars, so we had the basically the same body as Tom McEwen's Vet.
Nice.
The English leather vet.
Yeah.
The same body.
Sure. Remember
it was
it
called
well.
Nitro Pilot, Pirate. So we ran that, and then Garrett went to A Fuel Dragster with a company called Hip Link, and I sponsored that a little while. And I'm not doing anything right now, though I may admit that I'm
You're missing.
I'm still going to races, and they're trying to suck me back into it. And
Of course they are. So
And that evolved into the Buick that you built?
Well, I've always loved the early funny cars without question, and I had this idea for the longest time of building one for the street, but Pro Street was super bitchin', and I love Pro Street. I mean, I am
Fat tires.
I'm the humble, worshiper of Scott Sullivan. And I loved Mark Grimes and Matt and Debbie Hay and, all the names, right? Rick Dobberton. But I wanted something, a scotch more aggressive and a little more funny car-esque. So I moved the front wheels forward 5 inches, and the car has a full zoomies, no secondary exhaust system, full zoomies.
And this is a
blown
60...
injected Hemi, 60. It's a 67 Buick Skylark. Right. And it's got lightning rods in it. My seat, I sit in the rear seating foot area, and
Even better.
It was at SEMA.
It was in SEMA
It
and
was
bare metal.
SEMA?
Yeah, I'm finishing up. I finished up my olds. I'm going to be finishing up my little 31 Model A truck.
was the Buick running at SEMA?
It wasn't running.
Okay.
It just had a really neat little bumper sticker that said "Your opinion less than 0." Had the little less than sign, which confused people who didn't remember math
That's
from
right.
school.
Absolutely.
They're like, "What's
looks
that?"
like this,
yeah,
right?
it's the,
It's
greater than less than.
It's a pyramid
But
on
I
its
had
side.
about 1,000
That's right.
people
I can't
go, "Are you going to
understand
make that a T-shirt? I'll buy that right now." I'm like, I know
That is a good idea.
it is a good.
That is a good
I trademarked it,
Absolutely.
but
You did?
yeah.
Perfect.
So,
So
but
where are the T-shirts?
I haven't done it
Where's
yet.
my T-shirt?
I'm on it right now. I've got my best guy doing it. So, so that car is going to be just completely gloss black by Mick Jenkins. The interior will be red and just big, giant, blown injected
And
Hemi.
what's the motor? It's
It's
a
a
Hemi.
426 Hemi
Okay.
with Enderley injector
real
and
Hemi.
and a real
Gen
Krager
2.
magnesium intake and
Wow.
magnesium plates on the blower. It's a bad mother.
Make sure it
Anyway.
never catches fire.
Well,
That's
it
right.
won't.
Oh, okay.
Sure,
'Cause
I know.
magnesium
I
burns
know. Well,
ridiculously
you just put,
bright.
Just put water
And for a
on it.
while,
Yeah.
actually.
So-
Yes.
Have I
So-
told you my magnesium story?
after it's painted, the whole body's getting like that kind of red pinstripe around all the big panels.
Yeah.
And on NASCAR where the names are written right above that,
Mhm.
I'm just going to have in red, really nice and cursive and nice. It's just going to say "Yes, officer."
Perfect.
Dot, dot, dot.
And then and in the back, off to the right side on the deck lid, like where you would have like the Swanson family Buick or
Right, right.
over there.
Yeah.
It's going to be in that cursive 70s kind of funky writing, and
Mhm.
it'll be gold foil, engine swirl outlined in red, and it's going to be called moving violation.
Yeah.
Because
Awesome.
I'm running full slicks and full zoomies. There's no half-assing, kids.
That's right.
I don't want to see your whiny, I got exhaust cutouts. You know what? Send your hate mail.
Try again.
I'll give you my email address. It's purevisionss@aol.com. There's no
Send your
exhaust
hate mail.
cutouts. Just do the real thing. Don't be a wuss ball.
There's nothing worse though than an 8-to-1 compression motor with exhaust cutouts.
That's right.
I just
Well, mine's like
it sounds like
because I got a blower.
well, you got a blower,
Yes.
but that makes a difference. Then you know what you should do. I did a story for this in Hot Rod a long time ago. There is a fuel that you can mix a nitro
Implied
propane
malice.
with gasoline.
He's part of my bank robbing right now. You know what you should do?
This is it. We did this stuff. There's a fuel called nitro propane, and it mixes with gasoline.
Nitropropane.
Nitropropane.
Can
It
I
mixes.
buy this at Walmart?
No,
But you can
no,
barbecue.
but you can buy it from a fuel company. There are fuel companies will sell it. You have to ask for it.
What's my gain? What do I get to do with it?
It's about it adds.
There's people writing down nitropropane.
Yes. Oh yeah.
right
we
now.
did it. We did it. We added a normally aspirated. I broke one engine in.
I don't know if I like the way this is going.
It was into the gods of horsepower.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's it make,
a friend
180
of mine,
octane
a
or
chemistry friend of mine, told me
here
about
we
it. It's
go,
like we have to
chemistry
do
friend.
this.
Right.
So this is when Bechtel still was out at West Tech, and so I took my motor, I stuck on the dyno, and it's like, well, there was still gasoline in the lines leading up to the dyno. So let's just load this thing at like maybe 80 foot-pounds of torque, and we'll burn the rest of the fuel out of it. And then once we hear it shake a little bit, and obviously the propane is there, we added like 20%, right? It ended
Motor
badly,
shake.
very badly.
Why
it
are you
didn't.
talking
No,
me into this?
it didn't shake. It went boom, and it was done. And when it broke, it exploded the
So
piston.
this can be you.
Yes, this could be your engine. I'm telling you, it'll be great.
I'm not saying a positive on
That's
this
right.
right now.
And then what you can do is you can take it by Northridge, take it around the mall, and when you show up with that Buick, I bet they part the
It
cars.
It popped
and let you
right
through.
before it broke. It popped. It sounded so cool. So I called my chemist buddy back, and
So
he goes,
maybe I do 10%.
Well, you went a little bit too lean. I said, I followed your instructions. He goes, oh, well, there's a mistake right here. I just realized. But what it ended up being, we had to richen the jetting 1 jet size for every 1% of nitropropane that we added.
Oh.
So for 20% would
would
be
need
20 jet
20
sizes.
jets.
So
Yes.
what we did was we
sure you
stopped
need
at
a
20.
sewer pipe.
So we put another motor on the dyno like a month later, and then went very conservative with it and started leaning it out. We started way fat and started leaning it out. We basically, anything over 20%, we had to take the jets out of the carburetor.
Yeah,
But
Did this motor
it's
have a
vicious
stroke
stuff.
too?
I mean, it's worth some power. Yeah.
Can
Oh
we-
yeah.
can we do
Yeah.
this?
Yes. Absolutely.
Really?
And
So
with
what's
that,
the octane? I mean, what's the
Well, it's
what's the Wow,
the benefit is
he
added
laughs.
power.
He laughs before
Oh boy,
he
yeah,
answers me.
yeah. Well, you'd want to run some really good fuel, really good race
Well, I
gas.
get VP or
Yeah. So anyway, there's your
Run
tech,
that
there's your
in.
tech tip for the day, right
Right.
there. Nitropropane.
how
And
to
on that
melt your
tech tips
pistons
today,
down.
I think we have to wrap for the show.
We have to.
We have to wrap.
talk too
We have to
long.
wrap.
No, we didn't talk too
Okay.
long.
All
This
right,
is
so
just
good.
like right about the right time.
Is this
Excellent.
the
And
right
we'll
the right
save
time?
some of these stories.
We're talking to
Well,
the
yeah.
imaginary people out in front of us. There's really nobody there.
Yeah,
There's really nobody there.
That's
We're in
right.
an undisclosed location
We are.
with nobody.
with no one around.
Nobody. That's why this is so
talking
off
into
the
these
rails.
mics, they go
There's
nowhere.
no one to pull us in.
That's right. And we're having
So
way
we'd
too
like
damn
to thank
much fun.
ARP, our sponsor ARP, for helping us out in this whole thing. We couldn't do this without them. And so if you like what we're doing, subscribe, let us know, and we'll keep doing this.